Hi, this is Sarah Mikesell with the Dairy Site, and today we're here with Krysta Harden. She is the president and CEO of the U.S. Dairy Export Council. And today we're here at the World Dairy Summit. Thanks for being with us first of all, Krysta. And we're here at the World Dairy Summit. Tell us a little bit about the summit and what brings all these folks here.
No, thank you, Sarah. We have, I believe, over 1,000 people here from 55 countries. So we're very excited to be the host this year. It happens every year, but it's the first time in 30 years that the U.S. has been the host. So we're ready to showcase and highlight everything U.S. dairy.
Very good. And let's talk a little bit about U.S. dairy while we're here, and tell us a little bit about what's going on with the U.S. dairy market, and tell us a little bit about your area of expertise, exports.
Well, obviously, it's always a tough time, it seems, for dairy farmers, but, demand continues to grow, so we appreciate that. But we have a lot of tough weather conditions. You
Right.
pick a state, you pick a region, and there's been really challenges over this year. But our farmers are resilient, and they're persistent and consistently, working hard to make sure we have, a great product to share with everyone. I actually lead the export area, which is a growing focus for our industry. Back when U.S. DEC was formed 28 years ago, we only exported about 3 to 4% of production. Now we're closer to 18, getting close to 20%. So
That's great.
the world is our market now, which makes it a lot of fun. So it's really great to have a lot of our customers or potential customers here in the U.S.
Very good. And let's talk a little bit about some of those markets that you guys are really focused on, because it's kind of you can't rest on your laurels with the export market, right?
You said it very well. It really is about being in market, building relationship, building partnerships. Trust is so key around the world. Our biggest market and closest ally and partner is Mexico, and it has traditionally been so. We work very close with that industry, and we're very happy to be a big part of what happens in Mexico as well. We try to grow demand there with them, with their farmers and their processing industry. But we learned during COVID, if nothing else, how fragile markets can be. And when it was a tough time for the Mexicans and we had to make sure we had other markets, Southeast Asia was a very critical market for us. We have an office in Singapore, bricks and mortar. We have a test kitchen and a savory lab, and we really service that whole area. Other parts of Asia as well, like Korea and Japan are big markets for us, North Africa, and the Middle East, another area. And I can't forget the rest of the Americas, because that is a growing area for us, both in Central America countries as well as Central America. So you really do have to make sure that you're not putting, all your milk in one carton or whatever the the analogy is. Make sure we keep that diversification and keep the relationship strong and healthy.
Very good. And talk a little bit about product. I sat in on a economic outlook this morning, and I learned a lot, right, about we're not necessarily talking about fresh milk, right? We're talking about things that can be exported. Talk a little bit about some of those products and where are they going?
I think it surprises a lot of people. We don't export a whole lot of fresh milk.
Right.
Liquid milk. It's so vulnerable to try to, get it places. It's heavy to ship and also obviously very perishable. We do ship a little bit to Mexico and a bit to Canada that's reprocessed and comes back in yogurt and other products. So we export a lot of cheese. And a lot of folks love our cheeses more and more, which is very exciting, but also ingredients. The versatility of U.S. dairy is just so wonderful, and the rest of the world really does depend on our proteins. Sometimes the dry powders are made into milk, into drinkable milk, liquids. Often they're just used to fortify favorite foods, cultural foods, without that wonderful protein. Permeate, for feed, and for food is a replacement for sodium. There's so many different uses of dairy ingredients, and about 80% of what we export actually is in ingredients. A lot of folks don't realize that, but it is a variety of products depending on the market that enjoy our great ingredients.
Very good. And let's talk a little bit about some of the trends and opportunities that you see in the export markets.
Well, it is a tough time. The financial recovery, I will say, I'll start with the challenges first because they're real. The financial recovery, inflation is really rampant around the world. We're starting to recover here faster than other places. but there's still a lot of suffering economically, financially across the world. So that has been a headwind for us. Sometimes it's logistics and shipping. That was a problem for a while right after COVID. So letting that all even out, kind of balance out, has been something we've worked very closely with. Just, natural disasters, man-made disasters, those kinds of problems really do create some hurdles, frankly, for trade. But there's endless opportunities. We're talking about that a lot at this conference, about what's ahead, what's around the corner for U.S. dairy and our industry. For our farmers, I think it gives them some hope to think about growing markets, growing demand for dairy. Dairy is such a vital part of our diet in the U.S. in all forms. Cheese is always in my refrigerator, and I don't know how to entertain without doing a cheese board. Is the starter. That's not common everywhere.
Right.
And we don't drink yogurt. Certain cultures only have yogurt in a liquid form. So we have to make sure we're adaptable.
Right.
But we can be, and our processors and cooperatives and others understand that we really have to go to these different markets, listen and learn to the people there, the consumers there, about what they want in their diet and what kind of forms they want. And we also can tell them, hey, you can fortify your grandmother's favorite recipe, make it a little better for you by adding some protein and some ingredients from the U.S. dairy world, and still have your favorite treats. And you can also enjoy some cheese on some pizza too. So it's it's a good balance. So that's why I'm excited. I also know that we have the ability to grow. Yeah. Our farmers are the most efficient and proficient in the world, without a doubt. And they continue to have better and better product, same amount of cows, but we're producing more milk than we ever have. So we know that we have an abundance of great products. We have a population that is growing, that needs nourishing. It's not just calories, it's nourishment. Right. It's full calories that actually provide all the benefits that we know dairy does. So I'm excited about what's happening in the world. There are going to be hiccups. There's no doubt about it. But I think we are poised to really take a bigger and bigger share of the market around the world.
Very good. And everybody wants to know about China. So I'm going to throw a question about China, and just kind of, where is China at right now? And is there an opportunity for growth there?
Well, China certainly has suffered through the pandemic. They've had a lot of economic woes, and they have not been buying from anyone. Right. They're never a huge market for the U.S. There's just too many geopolitical issues, I guess. But they do buy a lot of dairy from our competitors. So we love that, because that means they're not competing with us in other markets. So, but for the last months, they have really not been buying very much. We've seen a little bit lately of a little bit of increase in purchasing, not huge amounts, but we hope that's the trend. We need them in the marketplace because they have such a large appetite because of their population, because of their use of dairy in so many forms. So we're hopeful 2024 will be a different year from 2023.
Very good. And one quick question about India. At the conference, or the session I sat in before, they mentioned that this is the year that the population of India will be larger now than China. Do you see India as an opportunity market?
I wish. I have to say that. We have not had great luck basically trading with India. They produce a whole lot of dairy, and they're very protectionist society. Right. So, cows are sacred there, and so is dairy. It is a big part of their culture. That's the good thing. Yeah. But they really do not do a whole lot of importing. We have some infant formula and a few ingredients. Certain companies been able to get a foothold in. But as much as we would like to think that we could have, a great, wonderful trading relationship with India, not in the short term.
Okay, very good. But it's looking at those opportunities and always keeping keeping a broad scope, I would assume, when you're looking at exports, right?
Most definitely. We really have to keep, like I said earlier, you never know who's going to have a problem. It could be financial, it could be geopolitical, it could be a number of causes to have them, pull back and not import. So we have to really make sure we're diversifying our product line as well as the locations. We have 10 offices, representation around the globe, that cover multiple region areas to make sure we're keeping up with all the regulatory standards, we're keeping up with the certifications, the registrations that are needed to participate in that market, and also the geopolitical relationships that are so important that our government knows while we're there and want to be there, plus their government. It's just as often with other countries' governments when I travel as I do with our own. We export in 150 countries Not all are huge markets,
Right.
but we definitely do, we're in different places and with different products. And I think that is another strength of the U.S. industry.
Very good. And one final question. You talked a little bit about volatility earlier with weather. Let's talk a little bit about it with some of the, kind of political and issues and crises that are going on in the world right now, like in Ukraine and Russia and what's going on in Israel. Do things like that disrupt what you guys are trying to do or have any impact on your efforts?
Well, so far, at least the two crises that we're dealing with, the two wars, I guess they really are
Right.
not direct markets for us, and they have not been. But instability and food security instability impacts all of us, not just dairy, but everyone in agriculture. We do know there will be people displaced. We know there will be different supply chains that are disrupted. All those issues do come down and do cause chaos, and that cause a volatility and instability, tensions, concerns about investment in certain areas. What's next is, is the question.
Right.
When is this going to be over? You hear it all the time. So there's always this shadow when you're having these major, major crises and what they might mean and how they may escalate. And at some point, impact a direct market for us or a close friend or ally, as in these cases. So it certainly does impact, every industry, I believe, in agriculture for certain.
Very good. Well, thank you, Krysta, so much for all your information today.
I enjoyed it. Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks. This is Sarah Mikesell with the Dairy Site.